Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scaling SaaS Podcast, brought to you by Zeno Digital Consulting Group. I'm your host, Brad Cavanaugh. Each week, we sit down with SaaS leaders driving growth, innovation, and customer success with one goal: to uncover what's really working so you can scale smarter. My guest today is Tony Ward, CEO of Ask Nicely. Tony previously served as CRO at Go1 and as President Americas at Xero, and has led high-performing go-to-market teams at Microsoft, LinkedIn, and Dropbox. He's well known for connecting customer experience to frontline performance and growth. Today, we're digging into what's really behind high customer churn in SaaS and some of the practical moves that we can reduce it and reduce it fast. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brad. Awesome to be here.
Definitely appreciate you taking the time. Let's dive right in. Churn is obviously a big topic for any SaaS company. When you're looking at churn with your team, what are the numbers that you look at that kind of moves decisions? Do you look at it from a logo perspective? Do you look at it from a GRR perspective, NRR? Like, what is churn just in your, how do you guys define it, and how do you guys look at it?
Yeah, we're obsessed with GRR, and I think the reason why GRR is a really good metric for any healthy SaaS business, it's the best proxy for product market fit. If you're in mid-market, really good GRR is 90 plus. Obviously, the best you can have is 100. If you're below that, then you're not best in class, and there might be some questions about your product market fit. So do you need to do some work on product and engineering to get there? Are you selling to the right client? Is your ICP correct, et cetera? So we are obsessed with GRR.
Well, you basically just kind of teed up a bunch of the future questions, because those are a little bit of the nitty gritties that I wanted to get into. So, but let me just ask you this: so if you could kind of add 5 to 10 points over the next couple quarters of GRR, like where
Yep.
would you place your first bet? Is it onboarding? Is it activation? Is it expansion? Is it service efficiency? Like what are those things that you're keying in on to get that, to move those numbers up?
Yeah, for new clients, and this is not a new experience for me, that first 28 days is critical. Your churn a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, if you're doing multi-year deals, will be a direct correlation between time to value in that first 28 days. So if they get real value, and for us in the business we're in, it's if they get 7 to 10 survey responses in the first 28 days, it means they're using the product, they've brought their contact list across, they've actually created some survey templates, they've sent out a survey, and they're getting responses, and they can see early signs of what's actually going on with their customer base. So that's how we measure, that onboarding experience is got to have surveys out and responses back in the first 28 days. It's in every SaaS business that I've worked in, and you talked about a few of them, and obviously I've worked before there was SaaS, but it's that first 28 days and using the product and getting a quick win is super important. And we built our QBRs in a way that's very repeatable. So the first QBR is quick wins. Did you get a quick win when you bought our solution? So that you can go and tell your boss when they say, hey, is this SIC thing doing what it said on the can? You've actually got that, and we help them to do that for our sponsor and our buyer. And the next QBR is all around, hey, return on investment. Did you get your return on investment? The next QBR are all around, hey, what new things could you be doing? To your comment before, expansion. And obviously the last QBR is renew and upsell. The other thing I would say is, and we're doing this with both our new sales and our renewals, is multi-year deals. So not 12-month deals. In fact, our head of sales said something that is really stuck with me. It's kind of funny, but it's appropriate. He said, we're out of stock of 1-year deals. We only have 2 and 3-year deals on the shelf. And our renewals, we've actually 4X'd our multi-year renewal rate. We just didn't do them before. It's still pretty low, but it's definitely, especially in the economic climate we're in right now, locking your client in, and even like we've got a measure for whether customers are getting greater or less value than what they're paying us. And we've actually proactively gone out and offered a downgrade for a multi-year because GRR is a cohort based on 12 months. So I know today I'm taking a hit, which I have on GRR actively, knowingly, deliberately, but 12 months from now, it's going to be starting with a 9, which is what I really need it to be.
Do you find you're getting much pushback from, existing customers with the multi-year deals that are on 1-year deals?
I think generally, if we provided good value and we've had a great onboarding experience and we're actually giving them, we're locking in the price because we've actually got a CPI uplift built into our contracts. So that kind of goes away if they do a multi-year deal. And, with today's inflation and everything else, who knows what it's going to be like 3 years from now. So being able for them to actually know what they're going to be spending over the next 3 years in a pretty uncertain environment, and we will give them incentives to sign up for 3 years because we want that annuity business. It's just a much better place to be.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, your comment about the current kind of economic climate, yeah, who knows
Mm.
what
Well,
prices are going to look like in the next 6 months, much less
who
12 to
knows,
24.
right?
Yeah.
Who know? And the other thing I would say is, and every single SaaS business or every business pretty much, the one thing that's happening in every boardroom or meeting room or virtual meeting room around the world, not just the US, but literally everywhere, people have gone through the people line and said, okay, we can live without this. They've made that cut. They've looked at real estate, which is typically their next biggest line on their P&L. They've reduced whatever that footprint, go remote, hybrid, whatever. The next biggest line in most people's P&L is software. And every CFO or COO is sorting that software from most expensive to least expensive and saying, which of these things can we live without? And
Yeah.
if you're not mission critical to generating revenue, and that in our case, a lot of cases, it's actually reducing churn, you will get crossed off the list because there's no room for nice to haves in anyone's budget anymore.
And in today's day and age of everybody in SaaS, they also have subscription fatigue too. I mean, especially when they start making that list, and a lot of times that list is a lot longer than they thought it was.
100, and we did exactly that. We're like, oh, we're paying for G Suite, we've got Zoom. Why don't we just use Google Meet? You know,
Right.
because it's
Right.
like I'm not like in a world of plenty. Maybe that's fine, but in a world where we're not living in a world of plenty, it's hard. And I think the other thing is, back to the market. If the market is not growing very fast, and I don't think it really is, the only way companies achieve their growth aspirations is to eat somebody else's lunch, also known as churn, right? And
Right.
so being able to work out before somebody's potentially could churn and taking action is kind of like the anecdote or inoculating your business against churn. By the time somebody says I'm out, there was many things that went wrong typically before that. You didn't show value, you didn't show return, you didn't show impact. In fact, my head of customer experience just went to a conference for CS folks in Sundance in Utah, and the real key takeaway from that was it, we need to show impact for whatever. Even it might be negative impact. It might be, hey, this isn't going so well. But you can't just assume that your customers are going to be able to work out the impact of your software that's provide you obviously you want to show positive impact. You're making a difference, but any kind of impact, even if it's going the wrong direction, and you can show, hey, ways to turn that around, they're more likely to renew and keep paying, also known as GRR.
Absolutely. And where do you find I mean, if you can maybe, I don't know if you're in the weeds this much, but if you can think about kind of the last 10 accounts that maybe you've lost or, churn, how much of it was it a product fit? or was it execution on your team where the onboarding didn't go as well, or maybe an initial setup ticket didn't get resolved in time? Like,
Mm,
was it some of the execution stuff, or was it really more of just a bad fit? What are you seeing in at least from
mm.
Ask Nicely?
I bucket it into three things. There's, I think, economic pressure. There's people that just to the point they just can't afford it anymore.
Yeah,
I would say then we haven't really done a bad job to convince them they can't afford not to in a tough environment. You got to keep all your clients, but that's definitely, hey, and we've typically gone, okay, what, how can we right size this so you like almost like an an economic kind of reason, like, hey, we understand it's tough out there. We're willing to, potentially give you a better deal for a longer contract, or so I think economic realities, customers that go out of business don't buy software anymore, and that's a
sure.
reality. There's people that are going out of business. There's nothing you're going to do with that. I would say probably the biggest bucket for us, we've been around for 11 years. We've got a large cohort that have been with us 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. There's been a change of sponsor or change of decision maker, right? In a lot of cases, the person that bought it, and this is another part of the economy, companies are downsizing in the customer experience space, right? So they're saying, hey, customer experience, we don't need that team. We're going to give it to marketing. All of a sudden, marketing ends up with this thing, and they're like, I don't even know what this is. So one of the things we're working really hard on is not just multi-threading when you're selling the product, but multi-threading from a customer success account management experience. So, in fact, one of our largest clients, our buyer is just leaving to go to a startup, and I'm like, we gotta really work hard to make sure the person that's taking this over understands the value and is excited about continuing on with us. So
Hmm.
I think we took our eyes off the ball a little bit about champion change, and we saw like 1,000% increase in champion change. There is a lot of layoffs happening. Go back to what I said before. They've done the people line, right? Nice to have
Yep.
works for people as well. It's like the closer you are to the money, both as an organization and from a software provider perspective, the safer you are. If you get into the nice to have bucket, watch out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We talked about kind of 30 years of experience. I mean, I think we've all been through those situations, those ups and downs, and you're kind of wondering,
Yeah.
am I in that? Where am I in that? In that list? And I've been on the wrong side of the list a few times. I have
Yep.
to say, but that's just kind of how it works. Um, yeah. So if I know that you guys use AI,
Yep.
I think it's like AI and like surveys and things like that within the product, obviously that enhances the product, the features, etc. Are you guys exploring it within your own operations on how it can either
Yeah.
drive sales or support customer support or even operational efficiencies? Like how, obviously it's just exploding. I watch a lot of
Yes.
sports, and every ad is either IBM ad talking about AI or ServiceNow talking about AI. Like it's just everywhere. And so curious, how you guys are exploring this new world.
Well, first of all, I'd say you're right. I mean, I've been around long enough. I've seen a few hype curbs. I remember how e-commerce, there was going to be no malls anymore, no physical
Yeah.
stores. And now that's not exactly what's happened. Has there been a huge increase in online shopping? Yes. Is Amazon eating the internet? Yes. But there's still bricks and mortar. I think AI, what I would say is it's happening way faster than anything I've seen in my 30 years in terms of just accelerating things. We have tried a whole bunch of things. Think that's the other challenge for businesses. There's so many AI companies popping up, and they're, doing different things. And I don't know about you, but I get, I don't know, 10 or 20 emails a day from, BDRs or AEs prospecting for the latest and greatest AI thing. And so trying to work out, okay, what is the thing I should look at is a bit of a challenge. We're doing some stuff right now in terms of forecasting and being able to predict without using account executives and people as to what the revenue is going to look like, and then comparing that to the human. Uh, Microsoft doesn't allow reps to forecast anymore. It's all done by AI. And I think we can get there, and I think most businesses can get there because humans are unreliable, whereas the data doesn't lie. And we've got 17 questions in our sales methodology to move it from a prospect to close. And if AI is great at looking at gong calls and HubSpot and actually seeing have those 17 questions been answered, and therefore what probability should it be. So we're doing stuff in that space. We've tried a little bit with kind of AI SDRs. I'm not sure that's there quite yet. I use a tool personally. It's a New Zealand software company called Tutaki for board papers because I'm on a couple of boards. It's amazing. So I feed it in a board paper and it gives me a list of questions to ask, which is just like, because I'm a go-to-market person, right? It's not that I can't read a P&L, but I'm not going to spend all my time in the P&L. But this tool pops out and goes, hey, I see there's X $100,000 of underspend in this area. What are you doing with that money? I would never, as a human, come up with that question. Now, a finance person would. So yeah, we're sort of investigating. We're doing some stuff with intent-based AI for prospecting for our AEs. But yeah, it's trying to figure out what's a waste of time and what isn't. I talk to a lot of other salespeople and CROs and CEOs, and it's like, what's your tech stack looking like? What have you found? So word of mouth is pretty important because honestly, it feels like a gold rush, and everyone's setting up claims, and you don't know which one's going to strike gold. What you do know is the LMMs, the OpenAIs, and the Googles who are selling the picks and shovels are going to make a ton of money. But
Yep.
which AI solution is going to strike gold? Yeah, TBD. For us internally, in terms of how we use it, when you get thousands and thousands of responses, survey responses. So if I take Aptiv Pest Control is a big customer of ours. They have 1,700 technicians. Every time a technician does a service, the customer gets an Ask Nicely survey. There's tons of content in there. But what we can start to do is AI can look at that and it creates focus areas for a region, an office, a technician, which can say, hey, we're seeing this a lot and we trademarked something called Nice AI. So we built this engine called Nice AI inside our product, and it creates focus areas. You can set them, like humans can still set them, but the AI will recommend them and you have to accept them. And then there's dashboarding and everything else. Humans cannot read thousands and thousands and thousands of rows of data, but we can all read a dashboard and a chart. That's what humans are good at.
No, I think you're exactly right. Like that's the one area where I found it very useful. Obviously, this is the space that I'm in. And so there's always that nice new shiny object and looking to see
Yeah.
what's best, not. What we've been trying to do is just kind of find the ones that have been somewhat established, are improving the product and jump
Yep.
on those, try to find ways to connect it through automations, workflow automations like N8N and those types of
Mm-hmm.
things. But your point about the board documents and things like that's what I found, at least for me personally, it just excels at being able to just take a massive piece of information, a ton of information, whether it's a
Yeah.
document or whatever, and just pull out those chunks. Then it just nails it. It's just really fascinating to me how well it can read,
Yeah.
these documents and help me, get the chunks that I need to know about in seconds rather than
Yeah.
hours. Like,
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the things I said to the two talkie guys is I said, why don't you go after PE firms and VC firms, because you could consume their board papers in the tool almost as part of DD if you want to buy it, because it will pull out all the dirty laundry that could take
Yeah.
humans days and days and days to do, right? And, like some board papers that I've had are 600 pages. 600
Right.
pages. I mean, that's like, as a human, to actually read it and consume it and understand it and look for patterns or holes or whatever, I don't know. That's probably a 40-hour piece of work. Your board
Right.
members are not paid for 40 hours of work, right? But as a board member, you have a fiduciary responsibility to know what's going on in the business.
Right. Of course. No, it is a pretty incredible technology. I just saw that, I guess, Anthropic just came out with their new model 4.5, Sonnet 4.5, and it's getting some pretty good publicity. The coding aspect of it, I've been hearing, is kind of just next level.
I just saw this morning that ChatGPT or OpenAI is launching some sort of TikTok competitor. I haven't even drilled into that and how that even works. I just saw that and I thought, I can see them doing shopping. Like I can see them doing kind
I
of
saw
paid
that.
search, but I'm like, is this from a shopping angle? I don't know.
I don't know. I saw a headline. It looked like it's going to be a TikTok clone, but all AI videos. It's not personal. Like, it's all the
Ah,
videos are going to be AI.
oh,
Like,
that,
that's
I don't know.
why I
That's
don't go down that path. That seems a little,
Oh
because
yeah, I don't know. That's a little dystopian for me.
yeah, exactly,
Actually, it's a lot
exactly. But I think
dystopian for me.
they are trying to be able to purchase through ChatGPT. At least I did see. I think was it Etsy is one of the first ones. So
Uh,
like if you do in the interface, you could literally buy it, check out
that
right
makes
from the
sense to
interface.
me, right? In terms of, and if I'm Shopify in that scenario, that is a like black swan event potentially for them.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So
For sure.
it's definitely interesting times. I think, what I would say in technology is there's always something happening. I just think that e-commerce took, I don't know, 10 years to really be a factor. This thing is a factor in, I'd say, the first 12 months, and it's just accelerating. It feels, in some ways, I think Bill Gates said this, bigger than the internet in terms of a
Yeah.
change. I think that's right.
Yeah.
I
I,
think,
I think it's bigger than the personal computer and the internet. Like,
yeah, and I think it's just from a social perspective, what does it mean for kids, getting out of college and getting that first job? What does that mean for jobs like, some legal sort of research people, accounting? I don't know. AI is probably going to do a better job, and it doesn't take holidays, or
right.
it doesn't need me time to go do yoga.
That's right. I was thinking the actors on all pharmaceutical ads are all going to be out of jobs because they'll
Oh
just
yeah, what?
be
That's perfect for AI.
you could then make them walk next to the beach and look happy and done. Like, I mean, they're like no more.
And you could use AI for all of the possible side effects. Give me all the possible side effects of this drug, and do it really quickly in a voiceover at 3 times speed.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Back. Let me kind of get
Yeah,
us
we
back onto that
digress.
churn. Yeah, I digressed us, so that's fine. Um, so if we're looking a little forward looking here, let me check the time where we
Mm.
are. Okay, if we're looking forward, I'm handing you an extra $1 million to dedicate to retention for next year. Where do you put it?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Uh, I think I feel like I'm like at a roulette table. I think I'd split my bet. I
All
think
right.
I'd spend half of it on training my account execs, my salespeople, selling new logos, to not oversell in the first place, to sell the right size, the right solution, and then potentially grow from there, as opposed to going for the king hit straight out of the gate and potentially overselling. We have a client right now that because we do based on response tiers, we sold them a response tier that was way, way over what the responses turned out to be. They said to us, "Oh, hey, we need to churn because we're not getting those responses." So we right-sized and we downgraded them to basically half of what they were paying, but they're still a customer. But we did the wrong thing. We oversold them in the first place. So I would train my salespeople to do a better job and sell the right solution straight out of the gate. Then I think I would spend my money, in which we are, on more onboarding resources to just make that white glove experience so that they get that value moment in the first 28 days, because that's going to pretty much guarantee, unless they're out of business, that they will renew and potentially upsell. So that's how I split the resource.
Is that your metric? Like kind of the first 28 days is kind of how you look at the onboarding process?
Seven to ten survey responses received in the first 28 days. So I'm using the product. The biggest, I think, uh, friction that we have when somebody buys is getting their contact list into, which is actually pretty easy to do, but that seems to be a barrier. I have to do something. I have to connect HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever to Ask Nicely to get the customer list to actually send out a survey. And then the next piece is they're worried about, what if I get all these responses? What do I do? And it's like, well, we can do a lot of that for you. The AI does a lot of that for you. And wouldn't you rather know what people were thinking rather than put your head in the sand and assume
Right.
that everything's okay until they say they're not paying anymore? So yeah, definitely that onboarding, that value moment. And I think everyone should think for their own business, really clearly define in that first 28 days, what is that value moment for the client where they can go, oh, I've got some response. It's funny when you see people when they get responses and they're like, oh, they said this, they said that, even if it's good or bad. It's like, oh, now I've got some telemetry on my business.
No,
So yeah, that's how I'd
absolutely.
spend the money.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's an easy mill right there. You got that covered, so that's good. Um,
Yeah.
you you actually I was going to ask a question regarding this, but I didn't get to it. But you touched on it about kind of those expectations. Like where do the expectations kind of go out of whack from sales and real life, what the potential customer needs and the prospect needs? Because I see that a lot, or I have seen that a lot, where
Mm.
it's either sell or undersell. And so getting that sales right to find the particular level that the customer needs is really, really, really important as it pertains to churn.
Yeah, and in previous businesses, we started doing something like we had a trailing commission for AEs that they only got paid 20%. So they get 80% when they sign the deal, and the other 20% was at first renewal, because we wanted them to make sure that they worked hard with the CSM on the handover and that they had skin in the game, to not oversell it in the first place. So that is a way you can do that, and you could make it 30, 10. I mean, if you get less than 10, salespeople generally are like, yeah, who cares? It's a rounding error. So it has to be meaningful for sure.
Sure.
But yeah, right sizing the deal. I think LinkedIn, you couldn't close one a deal in Salesforce unless the relationship manager, which was their version of an account manager, had said that the handover was good enough. So the AE didn't get paid unless the RM went into Salesforce and literally said, yes, the handover is good enough, right? And so because one of the problems we were having was the AE would sell a big deal later, and then the RM would come into the equation and have to ask the customer all the same questions, which is no value for the customer. And so we thought, how do we force this to make it a forcing function that the account exec actually has to do a good handover to the relationship manager?
Was that successful? I mean, that sounds entirely logical to me.
Yes. I mean, salespeople, there's always unintended consequences. So you'd have sometimes salespeople strong arming relationship managers to say, hey, can you just say yes to that so I can close won this because I don't get paid without it? But generally, LinkedIn people were culturally very good. So generally that was an anomaly.
Sure. On the same topic, but kind of bringing AI back into the conversation, from a retention standpoint, do you think that you might be looking at using it to find those signals and, from the noise, either coaching the team or, things like
Mm,
that? I mean, it feels like there could be a place for it in that
yes.
space as well.
So I'm sure you've heard of the term account-based marketing, which is like the Sixth Sense and the like, which is, intent and signals for people that are ready to buy. I think we have the makings of a whole new category, and you heard it here first. ABR, account-based retention. So how do we use all of those signals, social, reviews, surveys, usage, to actually start to predict, like a Sixth Sense kind of tagline is, when we have, based on what we know, there's customers that are in the market ready to buy, you're 12 times more likely to close those deals. I believe the same applies for retention, that we will be 12 times more likely to save these clients if you have these other signals. And that's where, agents and the like can start to do stuff on all sorts of different properties, all stuff that's available on the web. And then we've got some proprietary AI inside our engine that could consume that and actually give you a picture. Hey, go talk to these 10 clients because they're going to churn. So giving you the anecdote or inoculating before you even know they're sick. It's like
Right.
these people are already getting sick. By the time they send you the churn request, it's over. Like the chance of saving them, what is it? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's pretty much, I think, where we're heading, and that's a category today that doesn't exist.
No, that's exactly right. And that is absolutely, I think, going to be where this technology could excel. We're basically at the time,
Yeah,
so we can wind it up here. I, really, really appreciate you taking the time, Tony. Just to kind of sum up a little bit. I mean, it's for me, what I learned around churn is obviously a lot of it can be prevented in those first 28 days, right? From the
yeah,
onboarding perspective, I think there's, as we just mentioned, maybe there'll be technology coming to kind of help look at those, indicators of possible churn, but then
yeah.
even get a little bit creative with comp strategy as well. Like that
Mm.
that can help with um with churn as well. So again, really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Where can people follow your work and see what Ask Nicely's up to, and or you personally?
Yeah, go to asknicely.com and you can see all about us. And there's the ability to book a demo if this sounds like something that you would like to explore. And then I would just go to LinkedIn and look me up on LinkedIn. So, and send me a connection request. But yeah, it's been great. And it's something, when you reached out to me about talking about churn, I think about it like almost almost 24/7. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning going, "Ooh, account-based retention, a new category."
You need to maybe get out more, Tony.
My wife was laughing at me. I woke up so early. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm writing something down before I forget it."
That's awesome. Well, finally, if you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who's building or scaling a SaaS business. I would really appreciate it. Tony, thanks again for being here. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Brad.